So it's been a week since I saw Dragon Ball Superhero, and I've had a bit of time to gather my thoughts on the movie, and I thought it would be the perfect time to make a video. I'll just start by saying that the movie totally surpassed my expectations. When we first found out about this movie last year, like the first trailer came out, I was really skeptical about the 3D CGI direction, and I pretty much wrote it off. I thought it was gonna be garbage. I couldn't really understand why they would go away from what worked in Dragon Ball Super Broly, which was some beautiful art, amazing animation, great character designs. I didn't really understand why they were going with the 3D CGI look, and pretty much anybody who knows me knows that I hate 3D CGI. I hate CGI in general. Like, even when it looks good to most people, I usually think it looks really bad. But I can definitely say that I couldn't have been more wrong about it here with Dragon Ball Superhero. The CGI allowed them to take the movie to heights that really wouldn't have been possible if they would have done regular hand-drawn animation like they did in Broly. And the final fight in particular would not really have been possible without the CGI. And while it was short, it still had some really hype moments like Gohan's new transformation, Piccolo's new transformation, and some other cool stuff that I'll talk about later. The overall writing of the film was pretty simple, as you'd expect. This Dragon Ball Z, it's a battle shonen, you know you're not going to get anything crazy. But Pan really stole the show for me. I love seeing her training with Piccolo and outsmarting the Red Ribbon Army. And speaking of Piccolo, this was really the first time we had seen him be relevant since the Cell Saga in the original Dragon Ball Z, which was kind of ironic considering Cell Max is the antagonist this movie. Gohan was my favorite character growing up, and I always hated how little he was used in the story after the Cell arc. I used to play with Gohan in all the Budokai Tenkaichi games, the Budokai games, pretty much everything Dragon Ball. That was my guy. So it really hurt me like how he was pretty much shafted until the end of the Buu arc when, you know, he gets his ultimate power up. And I really love the twist of the main antagonist actually being a good guy for once in Dragon Ball history. So usually, you know, in pretty much every Dragon Ball arc, it's just pure evil that Goku and Vegeta are going up against, like we're currently seeing in the manga right now, or we just finished seeing in the manga, I should say. But in this one, you actually have a legitimately good guy who's out to do the right thing, but just being misled by other people. It was really nice seeing the Broly cast for the first time in 4 years as well. We haven't even seen them in the manga, so this was kind of like the first time in 4 years that we've had confirmation that they still exist and that they're still hanging out with Goku and Vegeta and training. And it was really funny seeing how, despite everything that Vegeta and Goku have been through, they're still kind of scared to fight Broly in training because they still don't trust him to not blow up the entire universe, which I thought was pretty hilarious considering all the things they've been through at this point. I really love how they straight up explain why they didn't use the Dragon Balls to erase the Red Ribbon Army as well. I think that's kind of a funny meme that we've seen across Dragon Ball, like, why wouldn't you just use the Dragon Balls to erase XYZ? In reality, is because if you did that, you wouldn't have a show anymore, but also because of the pride of the characters, which I thought was pretty funny to actually hear vocalized for once. But of course, I really just want to focus on the end of the film because I thought that was obviously the best part of the movie. That's where you really start to see that CGI help them go to new levels that they wouldn't have been able to go to with hand-drawn animation. For starters, Cell Max is massive, so to have him be able to fly around and fight against Piccolo, fight against Gohan, who's obviously much smaller than he is, just would not have been possible without CGI. So I can definitely understand why it was used. And when I started seeing the action scenes, like how Cell Max was fighting the Gammas or how he was fighting Piccolo, I really understood at that point why they went with the CGI, because you just wouldn't have been able to make that look good regularly. Personally though, I would have really loved to have seen Cell actually have memories of his original life and the fight against Gohan. Like, obviously Gohan's defining moment in the manga and in the Dragon Ball Z anime was the fight against Cell after Goku died. So to have Cell not really be able to talk about that or have Gohan not even make mention of that, I thought was kind of disappointing. Like, even if Cell doesn't have his memories because he's not fully complete, which makes sense, but Gohan still obviously has knowledge of Cell, so it's kind of funny that he didn't talk about it at all. The new forms were really great though. It seems like they're calling Piccolo's new form Orange Piccolo, and I think it looks really dope. It kind of feels like his equivalent of Super Saiyan slash Blue, and they actually have a little bit of a Super Saiyan callback in his transformation, like the antennae on his head stand up, just like the hair for Super Saiyan stand up, which I thought was pretty cool. Based on that little comment from Shenron where he threw extra power in, and just based on the established scaling in the movie, it seems like Piccolo is now on par with Blue. And if we assume that the Gammas were on par with Tournament of Power Goku and Vegeta, which Piccolo said at the beginning of the movie, then Piccolo's Shenron boost has to be above even that, which is really crazy to think. Obviously at this point in the story, Piccolo hasn't seen Ultra Ego for Vegeta, and he hasn't seen Goku's new Ultra Instinct form. So when he made that comment earlier in the movie and he says that the Gammas are on par with Goku and Vegeta, he's referencing their Tournament of Power form, which was obviously still crazy strong. So for the Gammas to be as strong as that, and Piccolo pretty much beat the hell out of one of the Gammas once he got his Shenron powers, that's crazy to think that Piccolo is now that strong. And then if we continue that scaling, Cell Max basically beats the hell out of Piccolo. Like, he did take a little bit of damage, but for the most part, he was dominating Piccolo. Like, he he was beating him pretty bad. So if Cell Max is above even that, and then Gohan pretty much can tank a punch from Cell Max without taking any type of damage at all, how powerful is Beast Gohan? Like, that's just insane, the levels of power that we're getting to now. And I know some people are going to be upset because Gohan obviously hasn't really trained in like 6-7 years, and now he's stronger than Goku and Vegeta, who have been training non-stop for the entirety of Super. But come on, it's Dragon Ball Z, it's Dragon Ball, whatever you want to call it. Like, all the logic goes out the window when it comes to the series. And speaking of Gohan's new form, I personally really like it. I know some people were kind of trolling when it got leaked, and they were saying like it looks garbage, it's a ripoff of Super Saiyan 2. But I think it looks really dope. I mean, anybody who grew up in the early 2000s, late 90s, like, you know, those Super Saiyan 5 through 10 videos that we used to watch on YouTube all day after GT ended, like, it really looks like it's straight out of one of those videos, and I personally think it looks dope. Yeah, it messes up the balance of power in the Dragon Ball universe, but we can worry about that later. Gohan and Trunks finally being aged up was a nice little surprise as well. People have been waiting on that for years. It's kind of been a meme that they don't grow up, but in reality, Saiyans just age slower, and then once they hit a certain threshold, they pretty much grow like bean sprouts. One little funny thing that I noticed is they clearly wanted the attention to be on Gohan and Piccolo's new forms. So if you notice, nobody in the film has a transformation besides those two. Like, even Goku and Vegeta don't go Super Saiyan or don't go blue to spar, which literally makes no sense, because if you're going all out for a sparring session, surely they wouldn't be in base form. But obviously they wanted the focus to be on Gohan's new form and Piccolo's new form, which I'm actually really okay with, because they've got shafted for so long that it's okay to be selfish with their screen time. Like, even Gotenks turns into fat Gotenks instead of Super Saiyan Gotenks, which at this point, Trunks and Gohan should have mastered that pretty easily by now, especially after the events of the Buu saga. Still not a CGI fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it turned out well in this movie, and it was definitely a lot better than I was giving it credit for at the beginning. It wasn't the strongest Dragon Ball film, but I'd probably put it in the top 4 or 5. It's cool seeing how much money it made in its opening weekend too. When I was growing up, the only anime film that we really ever had in theaters was the Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon films, and considering the awful marketing from Toei, I think the return was amazing. Like, I was pretty sure it's the highest grossing movie from last weekend in the US, like, out of everything that released, which wasn't a lot, to be fair, but still, for an anime movie to make over $20 million, that's pretty impressive. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the Dragon Ball Super anime come back. Hopefully it should be back sometime soon. The manga, I think, has enough content at this point, especially with the current arc wrapping up, to be able to do some type of return. Maybe we could see the Moral arc animated soon, so that'd be cool, but who knows. In the meantime, as you may or may not know, I do travel stuff on my main channel, so if you're into that, consider checking that out as well. I'll be uploading pretty consistently on this channel because it's easier to make anime related content, doesn't require as much editing, so consider subscribing and turning notifications on. I'll try to get videos out weekly, no guarantees, but thank you so much for watching. Appreciate the support. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Stay safe. See you next time.